Greetings gamers, I'm Anto, and today I am so excited to announce SIDEQUEST, a new monthly RPG magazine from Icarus Games. Over the last several months, I've been working on ways to improve the value of things over on my Patreon. Thanks to the generous support of my patrons, I've been able to upgrade my gear, pay bills, and plan for the future, and I wanted something to offer real value to them in exchange. When the idea came to me to package all of my Patreon content as a magazine, it immediately felt right, and that seed was planted, and then SIDEQUEST is the fruit of that idea. So what is SIDEQUEST? SIDEQUEST is a monthly RPG magazine focused mainly on 5th edition content at the moment, though we may explore more systems in the future. I'm going to be making 3 issues to begin with as a trial, and each issue of the magazine is going to focus on 3 pillars of content that I want to hit. Firstly, I want content that you could actually use in your game, so things like new classes, monsters, adventures, that kind of thing. Secondly, I want advice in there. I make a lot of D&D advice videos, but not all topics lend themselves to the video format, and this magazine is a perfect vessel for me to take some of those topics that I can't make into a video and turn them into articles so you can still get them. And finally, I want the magazine to be filled with content to inspire you. This is the most kind of nebulous category because it'll mean different things to different people, but I want you to come away from every issue and be inspired to go and create something from your game or try something new. I got started in the tabletop hobby with magazines. I got started with the Battle Games in Middle-earth magazine and then later the White Dwarf magazine, and I miss the feeling of flicking through a magazine at the start of the month and finding all that inspiration in unlikely places. That's what I want to provide with SIDEQUEST. I want you to come away from every issue inspired, no matter whether you run a different system or don't use any of the content in the magazine as it is. I've committed to an initial run of 3 issues which will be coming no matter what. Issue 1 is coming on May the 1st, issue 2 coming June the 1st, and issue 3 July the 1st. If these initial issues are successful and people like them and they perform well, then the focus of my Patreon is going to shift towards producing SIDEQUEST as full-time content there, and the new issues will release on the 1st of every month after that. But what's actually in issue 1? Well, the first thing is the Ash Gazetteer. My How to Make a Homebrew campaign series on YouTube has been super popular over the years, and people frequently ask for more content relating to the designation of Ash. And SIDEQUEST seems to be the perfect opportunity for me to deliver that content in a serialized format where each month I can reveal a little bit more information about the setting. In keeping with pillar 1 of the content guidelines, I'm going to try and keep the Ash Gazetteer neutral enough so that a lot of the content could be adapted into almost any setting. The second thing that's going to be in issue 1 is the Ranger of the Wild. Now, I've been working on my rework of the Ranger for a while now, and SIDEQUEST is the perfect place to share the latest version with the world. This is a complete rebuild of the class from the ground up, and it brings it closer to what I think of when I think of a Ranger, a rough and ready warrior on the fringes of civilization who has to rely on their wits and their grit to protect civilization from the encroaching wild. The third thing that you're going to find in issue 1 is an article about how to save your campaign from a slow and agonizing death. This article talks about the premise of the campaign check-in, which is a really useful tool for you as the dungeon master to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that you don't suffer from burnout. And then finally, we have a brand new monster in issue 1. This is a new CR11 aberration that lives in the Astral Sea, the infinite void between realms. You'll get some background on the monster, a stat block, artwork for it, and tokens to use on your virtual tabletop of choice. Now, one of the best parts I think about browsing through a monthly magazine is the art, and I want to make sure that there was gorgeous art in SIDEQUEST. The cover of issue 1 is a stunning stock piece from Dean Spencer, and the interior is filled with black and white and full colour art from a variety of stock artists. For the duration of the initial run, I've set aside a modest art budget to purchase new stock art each issue, but if the magazine is successful, I'll set aside a larger budget, and then if we meet our goals over on Patreon, I can start commissioning artists to make custom pieces for the magazine. Now, one of the things that excites me the most about all this though is the potential for the future. There are so many places we can go with this magazine and so many article formats that we can explore. So let's talk about some of the things that I would love to include in future issues. I would love to include new player options such as more subclasses, feats and spells, as well as new loot for your games. And I'd also love to include more monsters that you could use in your games as well. A series of short one-page dungeons to be dropped into your games could be super useful, but longer adventures, or maybe even a series of connected adventures that builds into a whole campaign would be incredible. And there's so much community potential here, things like letters to the editor or sage advice style columns where I talk about a specific question asked by the reader, or maybe even some community submitted content. And we could do contests and guest articles from other creators here on YouTube and beyond, or talk about other systems and what's exciting about them. The sky is really the limit here, and I am so excited to share issue 1 of SIDEQuest with you. But your support and feedback is going to be invaluable for improving the product going forward. Every issue is going to be accompanied by a feedback survey for me to understand what worked, what didn't, what people want to see more of, what they didn't enjoy, and hone it into a product that people really love. In the link in the description, you'll find the full announcement post with an FAQ over on Patreon, and you can sign up now ready to get issue 1 as soon as it is released. But if you have any questions, fire them away down in the comments below, and until next time, happy gaming.